Well, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Shane Creel and my co-presenter today is Miss Linda No. And we are providing a workshop on cultural competence for K through 12 academic success as part of the Master's in Public Health Student Research. We see that we have a somewhat group of otherness here today. Let's explore our otherness. Let's take about 10 to 15 minutes to explore each other's otherness in a somewhat fast-paced, fun activity using the bingo card. So we're going to use a diversity bingo card, and here we could make an assumption that everyone knows how to play bingo, or that you have experienced bingo at other events, activities, possibly even at home. We could even, make an assumption that it's part of your culture and it's something that you do at family gatherings to, make the time go by. And for some, that could even be derogatory in some context. So we're not going to do that, though. We are going to provide some instructions for diversity bingo. First, there is a pre-printed bingo card that everyone has been provided. Everyone will need a pencil or a pen for each participant. And we have created the master bingo card with enough copies for each of you. The bingo card contains a grid of squares, each containing a statement or question that will apply to some members of the group, and it is in line with the objectives of our class, workshop, or event. So now, if we would ask everyone to grab your bingo cards and mingle around, introducing yourselves and finding other participants who can sign your card, indicating that a statement applies. If one of the squares says speaks more than one language, you can ask me if that applied. I would sign your square on your card. Please limit the number of squares any one person can sign on each card, such as no one can sign more than one or two squares per card, to encourage the exploration of our otherness in order to fill your diversity bingo card. And just for everyone's information, I am bilingual. I speak both English and country, and you've been exposed to them both. So now that we have completed this activity and everyone's back seated, could you share something you learned about one of the other participants? And likewise, share something you learned about yourself during this activity. And I'm going to turn it over now to our co-presenter, Ms. Linda No.
So today we're going to be describing otherness. What does otherness mean to you? And what does otherness look like to you? And we're also going to be increasing our cultural competency capacity. Culture is more than meets the eye or crosses your palate. Burke and Friedman described culture as shared norms, beliefs, and behaviors that govern the activities of group members. A culture is a way of life of a group of people, the behaviors, beliefs, values, and symbols that they accept, generally without thinking about them, and that they are passed along by communication and imitation from one generation to the next. Culture influences education. Education beliefs such as learning, remembering, talking, and behaving, leading to language and communication patterns, values and traditions, social interactions, classroom behaviors, representation matters, and anti-oppressive practice such as privilege, power, and justice. We are surrounded by otherness. United States is a nation of otherness. However, our 332 million population is categorized by 4, maybe 5 racial groups consisting of whites, Blacks, Africans Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, and American Indians or Native Americans, Alaska Natives. Whites accounts for 75.8%, Blacks, African Americans accounts for 13.6%, and then others account for 10.6%. And we, with the K through 12 otherness, approximately 17% of the population is comprised of K to 12 school age children, and approximately 70% of enrolled in Texas public school identify as non-white during the 2021-2022 academic year. And we're all here to celebrate the otherness of our students. Does this impact your interaction with your class? And now we're going to give this presentation to Dr. Shane.
All right, so managing educator otherness. This is a very difficult process for those in administration in your school districts. A snapshot of the 2021-2022 educator otherness profile from Texas Education Agency indicates that approximately 57% of our educators are white, approximately 43% are other races. And from this, approximately 29% are Hispanic, which is an ethno-cultural group. Approximately 11% are Black African Americans. And then we have sharp declines occurring for other races and ethno-cultural groups. Overcoming the imbalance. The concept of cultural competency emerged in the late 1980s, engaging students through positive interaction and displaying no biases or stereotypes toward racial or ethno-cultural otherness. The concept of cultural humility emerged in the late 1990s, which requires a self-reflection of our own personal flaws, requires an open-minded approach, such as old school approach is no longer working, requires a desire to learn about the otherness of others. As educators, the incorporation of these two concepts in your classroom can create a thriving learning environment that supports academic success for all. Unconscious bias. This is something that we need to explore within ourselves. It's assumptions that foster stereotypes exist in both parties, and the old school versus the new school approach, and to practice reverse mentoring to escape the old school ways of thinking. Some facts, we always want to deal with facts. We are a multicultural nation. Our student population is multicultural. Everyone has developed unconscious bias and assumptions. Educators are service providers. The educator is no longer the gatekeeper of knowledge. And how do we transition to a thriving learning environment? All right, Linda.
All right. Culture competency is the ability to recognize that otherness exists, understand that ethnoculture influence impact educational beliefs and behaviors, develops an appreciation for and to value those influence as contributors to achieving academic success through a social culture pedagogy, and acknowledging and accepting the culture difference through positive interactions and attitude towards culture otherness, along with making an honest effort to learn effective cross-culture communicated skills. The interrelated constructs, which has culture desire, plus culture awareness, plus culture knowledge, plus culture skill, plus culture encounters equals culture competence. And that's meaning to having the want to, recognizing otherness, understanding otherness, ability to comprehend and adapt, interaction with otherness, which equals thriving environment. Culture humility. The humble educator practice culture humility through a self-reflection of personal flaws, along with an open mind with a desire to learn about the otherness of others' values, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, education, along with economic and social needs. When educators practice reverse mentoring within K-12 education, inequalities and inequities of the formerly mentioned social determinants of health may be reduced to support academic success for all. We have to do this by engaging with the family. That means that family members can be a positive influence on attendance, test scores, and school discipline, and engagement through constant with writing, communication, community events, and acquiring native language skills. And in order to articulate culture competencies, we have to ask this question: What must be eliminated to create a thriving environment? And now I'm going to hand it over to Shane.
All right, thank you. So based on our last question, I would like for you to consider, could it be white privilege? Since 75.8% of the population and approximately 57% of Texas educators identify as white, can this hamper our cultural competence? The idea of free stuff for white people can be challenging to grasp, particularly for white people who may have grown up in poverty or feel they have not seen the benefit of white privilege. For these participants, it is important to note that privilege is not necessarily an all-access pass, but merely an unearned benefit that is often unintentionally cashed in. Privilege is given automatically. It must be denied and challenged consciously. So for our discussion and brainstorming following the presentation, what are some ways that you have noticed white privilege happening to you or others? And in what situation ought we disrupt white privilege? How can we do that? And here we ask that you have discussions among at your tables to determine how we could answer these questions. And we'll do this for about 20 or 30 minutes or so. And then once we have completed the brainstorming, and we will have a discussion of what everybody come up with. So that concludes our presentation. We would like to provide everyone with the link to the diversity bingo card if this is something that you would like to incorporate in your classroom or maybe in other events that you may attend. Here we have provided the references for our presentation, and along with our contact information. And thank you for filling out the questionnaire and evaluation form provided. Your feedback is welcome and greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.